The Effects of Child Abuse and Neglect is brought to you by Texel, your credit union, with locations in Temple, Belton, and Killeen. Visit us at texel.org.
May the face of the Lord shine on you. May He shower His blessing on all that you do. May you never know anguish, sorrow, or strife. Dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of your life.
Howdy, I'm Sue Ellen Jackson, and this is Aware Central Texas Effects of Child Abuse and Neglect. Please stay with us for the next little while. We're going to be talking about a real difficult topic. We're going to be talking about predators. There are things that we all need to know about predators and how they operate so that we can protect ourselves, protect our children, and protect each other. So sit down and listen. Take a break from what you're doing and stay with us. I have with me two lovely people. I have Norma Moore, who has a story to share with us later on, and I have Yolanda Johnson. And Yolanda, you are a supervisor with adult probation. Can you tell us what exactly that means and what you do?
Well, I'm a supervisor with adult probation, and my specialty is working as a sex abuse officer.
Okay. As a sex abuse officer, what you're doing is you're actually the predator who is a sex offender has been identified, and he comes in or she comes into your office, and then you go through the process of have they been in jail? Are they going to jail? How does that work?
Basically, after a person has gone to court and been deemed charged with a sex offense, they come and I supervise them.
Okay.
They're placed on community supervision. They'll report to me at least once, and then a minimum of 2 to 3 times a month, and we make sure that they get treatment for their behavior.
Okay.
The majority of them have been sexual predators. They
Forever.
have committed sex offenses of that nature, something against a minor child or an adult.
Right. So are these people that are going to prison, or they've gone to prison and they're getting out? You know, when in this timeline of predator getting caught, do you step in and intervene?
Well, actually, the individuals that I supervise have done both.
Okay.
Almost half of the individuals that I supervise have gone to the penitentiary. Then they can come out on probation parole, which I do, or
Right.
they have the opportunity to get a deferred adjudication and they come out on probation.
And deferred adjudication means they've got to mind they've got to mind their manners and follow the rules carefully, or they'll be put in prison. Is that how that works?
Basically, yes. The courts have
Okay.
determined that they deserve one chance and they get a chance to come out on probation. There are rules and regulations they follow.
Okay.
And they have to go to treatment for their addiction.
Right. Now, what is a predator?
A predator, basically, in my definition of a predator, is someone, male or female, who's attracted to minor children and they groom them in a nature to harm them in a vicious manner, i.e. through verbal abuse or sexual abuse. The majority that I deal with are sexual abusers.
Now, I've heard it said that predators oftentimes look for single moms with children, and they'll come in and they'll woo them and be charming and be all that for the purpose of getting to the children.
That's called a grooming technique. That is true. You
Right.
have predators, or as you would say, individuals that do just that. The
Right.
people that I supervise in community supervision, they have grooming techniques, either through giving them candy, scoping them out in malls and schools,
Right.
on the internet, and they do. They look for single parents, not only single mothers, but single fathers, because we have the women that do the same, commit the same horrific actions too.
Ooh, is it more men or more women?
It's
That-
been more men,
Yeah.
traditionally.
Do you have a percentage? Best guess?
I would say at least 75% are men.
So that means 25% of people that are out there looking, prowling to do harm to children are women.
Predators, sexual predators are women, yes ma'am.
Wow. So if you're a single mom, that almost makes you vulnerable right off the bat. And do predators go to the mom first, or the dad, or to the children first? How do they make that connection?
I'd say through the grooming techniques, they would look for either through dating sites, chat sites, things of that nature. They find women, I mean married women that are single, that actually put out ads these days that are, you know, looking for spouses, looking for companions.
Oh my gosh.
And
so
predators
people
would
that are
normally-
on those dating things, not that there's anything, I'm not judging that, but the chances are there's predators out there looking to hook up with a family that they can do bad things to the kids and to
Yes,
the
ma'am.
wife, I'm sure, or the female.
Yes, ma'am, a large percent of the time that's where they meet their victims, their future victims, because they look for single women with children and they will groom them and get into their comfort zone, I would say.
Right.
You know, learn their mannerisms, habits, be very, very formidable, get you into a
Charming.
relationship, charming, and then they go after their major targets, which would be your children.
That just makes me want to scream, you know, because there's so many single families out there that are doing the very best they can do to hold it together, and to think that there really are people out there that have this driving need to the point that they're going to methodically identify women with children for the purpose of doing bad things. It's so horrific. And I was talking to one of your compadres the other day, and this just blows my mind, because he was telling me that I guess it's part of the grooming technique, that say you're in Walmart or you're in a store somewhere and somebody brushes past you, it may not be an accident.
No, typically in our world it's called frottage, or in other countries it's called Eve teasing. And what it is basically, it's a form of fetish, sexual fetish. They will rub up against you. Normally they target especially children in like a football game or a mall or something, and they'll rub up against the child in a fun manner, first the arm, then the leg, then a private area, and that's what it's called frottage. They get a sexual arousement off of it. And if there's no response, or a positive response from the kid, like, oh, you've hurt me or touched me, that's an introduction to say hello, how are you doing, get your name, your information, in the mall from a kid that they've scoped out and wanted to do some harm to.
How dangerous is this for children?
It's extremely dangerous.
Right. What should we as parents, or in my case, grandparents, know? How can we equip children to avoid these type situations?
I would say talk to them.
Hello, it's that communication thing again.
It is. It is very important when it comes to children, because believe it or not, you're your child's role model, and you can be your child's role model. The open line of communication, especially with today, a lot of people think that, oh, the internet crimes are the worst. Child abuse is child abuse. The internet is just another tool that predators use.
Right.
So if you teach your child about going on the internet, my thing would not have a computer in their room alone.
No computer in a child's bedroom.
Not alone. Have it in an open area where you can look. And when
in the
they're on
living
computer,
room or dining room or...
Right. You talk to them and you explain to them. And as they're growing up, you tell them if someone rubs up against you or asks for your information and you don't know that person, you go to the nearest adult that you trust.
Yeah.
You go to the nearest adult that you trust. If you're on the internet and someone asks you for information, because a lot of predators, their key targets are going through the internet, they will go to, a lot of people don't believe this, but they go to Disney sites, they go to the gaming sites because they can frequent children there. A lot of them that I talk to do just that. Believe it or not, we do more damage these days with Facebook, Twitter, things of that nature for children, and MySpace, because they put their pictures on and they put their information, their address, and that's open. That's an open invitation for a predator. And a lot of people wouldn't see it that way. They think it is open line of communication, online communication for family members and friends, but that's where the majority of predators go these days, because there's no type of natural attachment, and they can target anyone that they want by saying, i.e., I'm talking to Billy, and Billy can be on the internet saying, hey, I'm a 10-year-old who likes, you know, Blue's Clues. And then you have a 46-year-old male on the other end saying, hey, I'm a 10-year-old that likes Blue's Clues.
Yeah.
Can we get together at the park and meet and talk about Blue's Clues? And the next thing you know, Billy's disappeared.
Wow. Well, for somebody that has pictures of their children on their Facebook, I was under the impression that you could kind of pick and choose who you wanted in your Facebook.
In certain aspects you can.
But I bet some of these guys are very savvy and can get
Exactly.
through
They
that.
can break through. And little kids, think of a child. You're not looking at a child, you're looking at an adult. They have ways of blocking things, but children don't know that, so the open line of
Right.
communication.
There's all kinds of predators, and we're going to take just a break and hear another lady's story about how she was exposed to a predator.
The sexual abuse that I could talk about it all, actually. It's just, it's one of the hardest things to probably deal with. I was 6 when it started, you know, and like 12 to 13 when it ended. My dad, like I said earlier, would start coming in the room at nighttime. First, it started when my mom was at bingo games. And that's when he felt the most comfortable, because I would think that he was afraid to come in and get caught. You know, but my one brother, Bruce, had actually seen him one night come in, but he wasn't too sure what was going on. He thought that's what was going on, but my mom caught him. And she called me in the room and said to me, "What was your dad doing to you?" And I was so scared, because he told me, "Don't say nothing. If I said anything, my mom wouldn't love me." And that was my biggest fear. And I was like, "Nothing happened, Mom, nothing happened." She was like, "Well, why was he in there in his underwear?" I said, "I don't know. He came in, and just as you came in the door," I said, "he came in to talk." I said, "Maybe I was upset. I think I jumped up in a nightmare or something. I don't know what he was doing. He came in when I was upset." So it was all dropped right there, and nobody ever talked about it again. And when I was 12, I had a guidance counselor in school, and my behaviors had become so bad. Around the male teachers, I couldn't even be around male teachers at all. You know, they were just so aggravated with me. I couldn't, every time they came near me, I would start acting up. I would start doing crazy things. I had one teacher in school that came up to me, and there was always this rumor that he would get stiff when he was around the females. And that just drove me crazy. I couldn't handle him near me at all. And he would get so mad at me, and I'd just jump up on the lab tables and run out, you know. And that was like the biggest thing. The guidance counselors were trying to get me to get my grades up in school. And she said to my mom, she said to me, she put me in her office and said to me, "Lisa, I know what's going on and why you're acting this way." And I just looked at her and I said, "No, nothing's going on. I don't know what you're talking about." And she says, I think you're being sexually abused." And I told her she was crazy. I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." "No, I'm not being sexually abused." And she said, "And I think it's by your dad." Well, right then and there on the spot, I melted. I just started bawling and crying and freaking out and trying to get out of the room, and she held me down, and I was just like, I couldn't handle it. And then she tried to get my mom in for the conference, and my mom finally did come in. My mom did not believe me right away. She didn't know what to do. I think my mom was overwhelmed at that point in time, and she went home and asked my dad. I'm trying to remember what happened with my dad. He said no, he just didn't agree with it at first. And then the guidance counselor left it up to my mom to call CPS. And when she called CPS came out, and they asked my dad, and my dad said, yeah, it was true. My dad didn't argue about anything, and they told him he had to leave. And then finally, when he had to leave, it was either he leave or I got taken away. And what happened with that was he decided he was going to leave. And I got to stay home with my mom and my brothers. And then after he left, he kept coming back. And then he would leave. He would threaten my mom. He did all kinds of crazy things. He threatened to hang himself on the tree out back just because he couldn't be away from the house. He sexually abused me. He had me go on jobs with him. When I was like 10 or 11, I went on, he was carpet laying then. And I went on the jobs with him, and he was sexually abusing me at the job sites. And I don't remember a whole lot of things about some of the things he would do, but I know that he had penetrated me, and he tried to say, you know, he didn't argue about anything. He saw a counselor, and I had seen a counselor, and I couldn't come out with things at all. It was hard. And we tried to go to, the first time we tried to go to, I guess it was called a public defender, and file charges against him. And it didn't happen. The public defender, I thought he reminded me of a pervert. I don't know why, I just told him that. And he was sitting, you know, up in his chair, and it just made me uncomfortable. So I couldn't go along with anything. And over the years, I ended up in institutions and stuff like that for it because I couldn't handle him coming around. And I got taken away from my mom and put in foster care. Just a lot of stuff happened. He did get eventually put away.
I think it's very important for us to know and understand what predators look like, not for the purpose of judging them or condemning them, but for the purpose of protecting ourselves and protecting our children. You had mentioned just a minute ago that predators look like anybody. And Norma, you have quite a story to tell that'll kind of back that up, don't you?
Yes, unfortunately I do. I have a 12-year-old daughter that became very attached to her stepfather. And this is a man that we knew for like 10 or 12 years before he and I ever got together. His daughter was married to my oldest son. They were high school sweethearts. They ended up getting married. So we had family functions together, you know, the birthday parties, the Christmases, Thanksgiving, all kinds of stuff. His first wife of 25 years was killed in a car wreck. And Megan and I were there for him after that. And I was at the time married to Megan's father we had been married for about 15 years, and I was very miserable in my marriage. He was, you know, was physically at times abusive and mentally and sexually abusive to me only, not to the children. But that was one way that Scott, I guess, started getting into our lives, was because of the fact that he had known for so long that I had been miserable. He came to me one day and told me that if his wife was alive, that she would want them to help me and the kids get out of this life we had with their father. And so to me that was very appealing.
He was going to rescue you.
I had someone that was going to rescue me, no strings attached, you know, that sort of thing.
Wow.
And he told me, I will get you out of that mess. I will find you and the kids a place to live. I'll help you out until you get on your feet.
I wonder how long he'd been planning that. Who knows? But he sure did know you well, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
So he knew exactly what to say.
Yes, he did.
Wow.
And so once I became very interested in having what I considered to be my life back,
right.
I told him, yeah, you know, I made arrangements, and I talked to the kids first. The kids definitely, because I had stayed with my ex-husband as long as I did, because I always said, you know, my parents didn't make me go through having stepmothers and stepfathers. My parents are still together, and I never wanted that for my children. So when I finally started hearing some response back from the kids, Mom, we've got to get out of here. You know, I don't like living here. I don't like the way he treats you. I don't like the way he talks to you, and that sort of thing. After I talked to the kids and told them, I have somebody that will help us get out of this life that we're in. And they were all for it. They were ready. So we all pulled together, and, you know, we got out of there. and sure enough, he paid for my divorce. Because of the fact that we had known each other so well, his daughter and his son started kind of pushing us together and making comments that, Dad, you know, if Mom wanted you with anybody, it would be with Norma. I think y'all should start dating, and, you know, and things of that nature. So we did start dating, and everybody was just ecstatic, you know, I mean, especially Megan, because Scott spent a lot of time with us, and he pretended to be very family oriented to the point to where it made the kids feel good, because the kids finally had a dad that wanted to do things with them and wanted to do all the goofy little things that me and the kids had always done together. And we all got very, very close, especially him and Megan. Because of the fact that Megan, being the only girl, she wanted that close feeling of a daughter-father type thing. And so anyway, they had spent a lot of time together, like during the summer, the first summer that we were together. They spent a lot of time together. And she would pick up on some of his, I guess you'd say, some of his mood swings, where he was, you know, one minute he'd be depressed because his first wife had gotten killed, and she was there for him. And I don't know how much you remember about Megan, but she's very mature for her age. Mm-hmm. So even at that time, she seemed to know the right things to say to make him feel better and to try to cheer him up and that sort of thing. And things were just great for a long time. And then we moved up here, and we were here probably for about a year before she said she really noticed him acting differently. But she would come home from school, and he would make her sit in his lap for like 5 or 10 minutes.
And how old was she?
She was 11 at the time.
Okay.
And she would tell him, Scotty, I don't want to sit in your lap. I've got homework to do, or I want to go outside and play. And he would tell her things like, you know, just sit down and shut up. You know you enjoy it. And she said, you know, she would be so furious with him. And so she would say something to me about it, you know, and I said, Scotty, if she doesn't want to sit in your lap, she doesn't have to. You know, she's growing up. She's not a little girl anymore.
Right.
And so anyway, that seemed to, you know, to go away, or at least I thought, because he started saying things to her and trying to make her think that I didn't love her as much as I loved her brothers.
Oh, no.
So anytime I got on to her, he would say, see, I told you, baby. I told you, you know, but I'm here for you, and I want you to know that. So stop getting upset with me for everything. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just showing you that I love you.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
The number one thing we spoke about, the frottage, the
Right.
sitting on the lap and the rubbing. That's where it starts at. That's the beginning of the grooming process before you reach the sexual deviant fantasies. And then he went into talking to her, trying to separate her from her mother, disassociation, saying that, you know, I care for you more. You need to be more interested in me.
Exactly.
I have more time for you. I can provide for you and do other things for you. Trying to, you know, get her into an adult mode of thinking prior to committing the act that he would do. Typical predator.
Exactly. Well, and with her saying that, another one of the things that he did start doing was at night when we were getting ready to go to bed, she would be laying on the couch, and he would walk up and he'd start scratching her back. And if that's where she chose to sleep that night, then she would tell him, you know, Scotty, stop it. I don't want you doing that. And he says, oh, just lay there and be quiet. You know you enjoy it. That, you know,
Ooh.
same remark over and over and over again.
Yeah, I wouldn't have picked up on that, I don't think, unless I had had this conversation.
Exactly.
And it's
You know?
something you look for later on.
Yeah.
I mean, teaching kids and young adults out here is so important because you think that the one person that you're able to trust and you put all your trust in, to find out that they're grooming you for something else, some type of sexual activity. And as she's saying about her daughter, you know, she said stop, stop, stop constantly, and he would tell her, oh, you enjoy it, just be quiet, you enjoy it.
Wow.
When in actuality, she wasn't accepting his advances, so.
How was he keeping you at bay when all this was going on?
Because of all of the stuff that he was saying to her, and because of the fact that my daughter knew the kind of marriage that I had with her father, all she wanted was for me to be happy. And she's told me that repeatedly, and she said that in all the interviews that she's had with, you know, with the police and, you know, CAC and everybody, is that she wanted me to be happy, so she wasn't going to tell me what was going on because she didn't want me and Scotty to get a divorce because she knew I would be miserable.
Right.
And so she started trying to stay away from him as much as possible. And any time that I guess she was not responding to him in a way that he wanted her to, he would come to me and tell me that Megan was being overly disrespectful and being very rude to him, because he knew that that was behavior that I do not tolerate from my children, whether it's Megan or either one of the brothers. So therefore I would get on to her and, you know, have a talk with her and let her know we don't treat people that way.
Wow.
And so every time I would do that, then it seemed like within the next day or so, he was taking her shopping or buying her something, or, you know, he would just say, hey guys, how about, you know, we go shopping and y'all all have $100 a piece that y'all can spend.
Oh my goodness.
But he would always include the boys in some of that too, so that it didn't look like that he was only spending money on Megan.
We know the rest of the story. We know that he approached your beautiful daughter and that he actually raped her, didn't he?
Oh, actually, our story is a lot less serious than most people, because of the fact that I had had a talk with Megan since the day I left her father.
So she was able to move away from that.
Yes,
and
she got away from it, and luckily it was sexual assault.
Right.
And you know, he wasn't able to go any further.
That. If you feel like there's something going on in your household, don't hesitate to pick up the phone and talk to us about it. The number at Aware Central Texas is 254-939-7582. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
May the face of the Lord shine on you. May He shower His blessing on all that you do. May you never know anguish, sorrow, or strife. Dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of your life.
The Effects of Child Abuse and Neglect is brought to you by Texel, your credit union, with locations in Temple, Belton, and Killeen. Visit us at texel.org.